Stan Jabalisco here, proprietor and operator of amateur radio station W1 GV, Whiskey 1 Good Vibrations. I had two very good friends who were ham radio operators during my high school years particularly. They lived just a few blocks from me. Bob, WA0QWC, Quebec Whiskey Charlie, and Dick, his dad, WA0QWD, Quebec Whiskey Delta. They had a Heathkit line of radios, the transmitter and the receiver, and I believe also the linear amplifier. And I think they also had a Johnson kilowatt matchbox. They had a 3-element tri-bander for 20, 15, and 10 meters. Back then there was no 17-meter band, there was no 12-meter band, and there was no 30-meter band, nor 60-meter band. They had a 5-band trap dipole for 80 through 10 meters, strung through the trees in their home in Rochester, Minnesota. And in the summer of 1971, particularly, I remember spending time at their station with them, working DX and just enjoying their company. They used to have me over for supper. His sister, Lisa, and he had another sister. I forget her name now. Dick, and I also forget the wife's name. But those Heathkit radios were fun to use. They looked a lot like the Collins S-line, except they had green fronts. And actually, I remember in 1969 being over there to watch the first moon landings, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landing on the moon, intermittently between operating the radio. And we used to operate the radio together. But the summer of '71 was particularly memorable because during the early mornings, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and then again from 12 to 1 p.m., I trained hard at swimming. It was between my junior and senior years in high school, with the aim of becoming a great swimmer. Well, I never quite achieved that goal, but we did have a lot of fun with the ham radio. And I was into high-speed CW at that time. And there was a station in New Zealand that we used to contact a lot, George, ZM2 AFZ. That'd be Zulu Mike 2 Alpha Foxtrot Zulu. Actually, his call was ZL2, but for some reason that year they had a commemorative event and they changed their prefix to ZM. He was a high-speed CW operator, and we used to contact him almost every night. And there was also a group of high-speed CW ops who hung around on 7.030 and thereabouts, and also 14.030 and thereabouts. And we used to communicate with them and occasionally also operate single sideband, although I think Bob preferred CW as well as I did. His dad more or less just let us have our jolly times. But those were very good times, and I have fond memories of that summer. The jock in the swimming pool and the nerd in the ham radio shack. And I also, of course, operated my own radio shack, the Drake 4-line, R4A, T4X, a regular Johnson matchbox, an Ico Keyer and eventually an old Western Union Model 103 radio teletype machine, and I built a HAL ST5 Sierra Tango 5 terminal unit. And I used to do radio teletype down in the fallout shelter in our house in Rochester, Minnesota, in what I called the lab. Today's equivalent is the nerd cave. I was a nerd half the time and a jock the other half, but I had great fun doing both. But I remember Bob and Dick with great fondness. I don't know where Bob is now. I think he's in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, but I'm not certain. Dick, I believe, has passed away. But I remember it was just a whole lot of fun. We took our novice and general class courses at the Rochester, Minnesota County Courthouse. And we had to learn the code then, 5 words a minute for the novice and 13 words a minute for the general. There was no advanced. Never even occurred to me that I might get an extra class license until later on, just a little later on. And then I decided, hey, why not? I'm going to want it sooner or later eventually. And so I got that. They had incentive licensing, which still exists to this day. You could only get all amateur privileges, especially on the HF bands, if you had the extra class license. Then went through college, had Bob as a roommate for a while in a Frontier Hall dormitory. Moved to the fraternity house, set up the radio station there, as I've alluded to in other videos. But I'm just having a little bit of reminiscing of late, of my younger years as a ham radio operator, and when the whole art was new and fascinating to me. It's now become a little bit more mundane. I've got other things that I do, and but I still like to experiment with antennas. I've always liked to experiment with antennas. So those nights in the junior high and high school spent with Bob and his dad at their Heathkit station, I fondly remember as very good times. Stan Gibilisco signing off, saying 73, and so long, which in CW my native fist then as well as now shall forever after translate to da-da-da-da-da-da.